Ever since I started programming in 2017, I found myself having project ideas that pop in my head but not having the time to create them. This has caused me to have a backlog that I like to call the code bucket list. I decided to start tackling this list now that I have more free time. I want to keep myself accountable, so I will be documenting my progress for each project here. Let's start with what I have done throughout September. When I was in college, I joined an academic organization that focused on tutoring students who are in software-related majors. These students would be tutored by voluntary mentors whose shifts would be scheduled by the mentor head. I figured I could alleviate the workload of this position slightly by writing a program that would generate shift schedules given each mentor's availability. Normally, the mentor head will create a when to meet link to see when each mentor is available on weekdays between 10 AM and 6 PM. Then, they must create a schedule where as many time slots are filled in which no mentor works more than 4 hours a week, with each shift being 1 hour. This can be difficult depending on the number of volunteers that semester. Whether the amount of mentors is too little where nobody is scheduled at a certain time, or the amount is too much where multiple people are on one shift. There's a lot of possibilities for customization here, so I started slow and took on one thing at a time. I wanted this project to be accessible to anyone, so I decided to make it a web application. I chose to use React as I assumed there would be several repetitive components. Before I started implementing anything, I need to know what were the basic things needed in order to make a minimum viable product. Here are the following basic requirements for the application. Add a mentor with their availability, delete or edit any mentor, generate schedules based on a few parameters, and view those generated schedules. I started with the creation of the mentors since that was the building block to everything else. I have a text box where the user can input the mentor's first and last name. I made last name a requirement since it's common to have mentors with the same first name. I used buttons in order to toggle if someone was available for a certain shift. I would prefer if you could drag to toggle multiple shift blocks at once like when to meet, but it's functional so I'll leave it for now. The user would then press submit, and depending if there are any errors such as giving a blank availability or a blank name, either an error or confirmation message will appear. A mentor's availability can be changed by writing that name in the text box and putting in the new availability as if they were a new mentor. If the inputs are valid, the mentor will be saved in local storage. I then create a page where all mentors and their availability can be used. Each mentor has their own delete button that will remove them from local storage. Not much to say about this page for now. I'm thinking about moving the edit functionality here so you can see the old and new availability in one place rather than needing to memorize it on the other page. Next is the schedule generation page, which is the page I spent the most time on. Luckily, my efforts and some guidance from others paid off as it works as I expected to. As of right now, only schedules with one person per shift are generated. I'm planning to make the max amount of people per shift a parameter for later versions. I won't go into too much detail about the generation algorithm as this video is long enough. If people are interested, I can talk about it more in its own video. I added some parameters for the user's preferences. Force all mentor only shows schedules in which all mentors in local storage have at least one shift. Max shift are the max amount of hours each mentor is allowed to work each week. Max time is an optional parameter where generation will stop after X amount of minutes. Max schedules is another optional parameter where generation will stop after X amount of schedules are generated. I also created drop-down filters if the user wants a certain person to work a certain shift. When generation finishes, an audio cue will play and the schedules are saved in local storage. I need to find a new sound so it doesn't give people a heart attack. Currently, there is a bug where you can press the Generate Schedules button while generation is happening, which will reset all the progress. This can be easily fixed by disabling the button while generation occurs. I am also thinking of adding a button that will stop generation just in case someone wants to change their mind about waiting an hour for the program to finish. The last page is where generated schedules are seen. Each mentor is given a random background color to easily separate them. I also added the ability to see a specific mentor on a specific shift, assuming that the shift has more than one option. I broke the schedule into different page chunks for easier readability. You are able to change how many schedules you see per page. As you can see, all the pages are laid out in odd positions. This is because they use a minimal amount of CSS as I focus more on functionality rather than design. Now that I have a functional prototype, I'm planning to use a CSS framework such as Tailwind in order to make it clean looking. I have some sketches of the layouts, so it shouldn't take too long. At the beginning of the month, I released a video tutorial on how to use Unity. This mostly stemmed from me being active in the Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes Discord server, in which several people were asking how to create a mod. Although contained modding isn't too difficult when you are familiar with Unity, I noticed a lot of people who didn't know the tool were having a lot more problems. This meant I was teaching them two things at once, which is never a good idea, as it increases the chances of being confused. Here's a tip for anyone who wants to get into software engineering or programming in general. Don't rush things. Learn the tools first by taking on small projects, and use what you learned in order to create your dream project. It's okay if it takes you weeks or months to get to where you want to be. I recommend going on Code Wars. It's a free site that allows you to tackle programming challenges of various languages. Speaking about Contain, I have decided to do another project that isn't directly related to the game itself. Like I have said before, many newcomers to the server ask the same question about the creation of mods, including how to create manuals and common issues that can occur. Although there are some video tutorials that can answer some of those questions, there are other questions that are not documented as well. There is a Discord channel containing resources about modding, but if you have a specific question in mind, it's rather difficult to navigate through. There's also a bug where the channel is hidden for some users, and they must click on a message link in order to see the channel. I would assume someone who is new wouldn't think to do something like this. I have decided to make a Discord bot that would answer frequently asked questions. I'm hoping that the interactivity portion will make the bot use more than the mod resources channel. I made a Google Docs to keep track of all the questions along with their answers. It's currently a work in progress as I try to answer each question with as much detail as possible. I grouped the questions based on common categories, so all questions related to manuals would be in the manual section. This will hopefully make looking for a specific question easier. I'm planning to have a small number of questions for now, make a prototype out of them, get feedback from the community, and then improve it from there. Creating the bot doesn't seem too difficult, especially since I have experience from creating another one for a different project that had a lot more functionality than this. I'm thinking about using / commands for the prototype, but others have recommended me to detect the question and run the command internally. I'll use commands for now since they're more dependable for testing and think about detection later. Since I'm more comfortable using JavaScript than Python, I decided to use Discord.js to make the prototype. There are 3 general commands the bot will have. The first one is the help command. This will tell the user the purpose of the bot along with the category commands, which is another general set of commands. Running one of these will list all the questions in that category along with their respective commands. The last set of commands are the questions. Running their command will show a header of the question followed by the answer. I'm hoping that I can keep the questions in a JSON file and dynamically create the category and question commands since they're repetitive. Hopefully, this project will be in a more stable state by the end of the year. If you have any questions or suggestions about my projects, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching this video.